So raise your hand if you agree that smoking causes cancer. Well, what if I told you that scientists are actually more confident that humans cause climate change than that smoking causes cancer? Human activities contribute to warming of the Earth by emitting an overwhelming amount of gases and particles into the atmosphere every day, many of which absorb heat, acting like a blanket around the Earth. But not all pollutants are created equal. If we think of this blanket as a quilt, then each pollutant would be a different patch. My job as a climate scientist is to determine how to shrink this quilt by targeting the most harmful patches. There are three main ways that we can determine what makes a pollutant matter. Number one, intensity. Intensity is how effective a pollutant is at trapping energy. You can think of this as the thickness of the patch on the quilt. Carbon dioxide, the most well-known greenhouse gas, would actually be as thin as a bed sheet, surprisingly not that potent per pound. But black carbon, a dark particle that is part of soot, would actually be a patch that is a mile thick because it is 1,000,000 times more effective at trapping energy than CO2. Number two, quantity. Quantity is how much of it we create. You can think of this as the size of the patch. So if black carbon, the thickest patch you've ever seen, is a square foot, then CO2 would be a patch the size of a basketball court because we are emitting thousands of times more CO2 every year than black carbon. Number three, duration. Duration is how long a pollutant lasts in the atmosphere. The longer it lasts, the more it builds up over time, committing our planet to warming well after it has been emitted. CO2 can virtually last forever in the atmosphere. So these basketball court-sized patches are not only there to stay, but we keep adding more of them as we add more CO2 to the atmosphere. Black carbon, on the other hand, only lasts for about a week in the atmosphere. And so those super thick patches on your quilt would disappear after a few days. So the combination of intensity, quantity, and duration explain why we prioritize reducing emissions of some pollutants over others, but also why we have different strategies of dealing with different pollutants, a concept that is crucial to combating climate change. We must reduce emissions of CO2 so that we limit warming for generations to come, but we must also reduce emissions of potent, short-lived climate pollutants like black carbon so that we can immediately reduce warming during our lifetimes today. So just as we are confident that quitting smoking will prevent cancer, we are even more confident that humans can be the solution to climate change. Thank you.